Thank you for turning to page 121. Today's video was going to be about how I prep my game for play. I've had a lot of requests for that, and I will be doing it soon. However, once I started filming that video, I realized that there was more to it that I wanted to do, so I need a little time to do some research and some other little things. So today we're going to look at a spell I was going to look at on the channel anyway, Airwalk, a 5th level cleric spell. Level 5, ranges touch, 6 turns plus 1 turn per level, 1 creature's the area of effect, verbal, somatic, and material components, 1 segment casting time only, and saving throws none. And it's an alteration spell. I don't know if I said that. This spell enables the cleric to tread upon air, just as if it were solid ground. Moving upward is similar to walking up a hill, and the more steep the ascent, the slower the rate of movement. Ascending at a 45-degree angle is done at 1/2 normal movement. 60-degree angle reduces movement to 1/4, and traveling straight upward can be done at 1/8 the normal rate. Similarly, rapid descent is possible, almost as if the cleric were running downhill. Invert the above proportions, so you travel at 1.5 times your speed at a 45-degree angle, and so on. Traveling rate downward can be done straight down is 8 times the normal movement rate, or of course at any slower rate the traveler desires. An air-walking creature is always in control of his or her movement. Someone traveling straight down at a rapid rate can, quote, stop on a copper piece, unquote, to avoid crashing into the ground or some other solid object. Someone attempting to airwalk while a gust of wind is in effect in the same area will move at 1/2 the usual rate if going into the gust, or twice the rate if traveling in the same direction as the gust. The spell can be placed on any creature touched, up to and including one of giant size. For example, the caster could place the spell upon a trained horse and ride it through the air. Of course, an animal not accustomed to such movement would panic, so the steed would certainly need careful and lengthy training. Material components for the spell are the cleric's holy or unholy symbol and a bit of thistledown. I have always liked this spell. You don't get this spell until you're a 9th level cleric. I have seen this used at my table. It's great. You get to air walk at your normal movement rate, and it says tread here, so I do allow a player to run. And that's especially important if you have boots of striding and springing or boots of speed. Can you airwalk with boots of speed? That's one of those that I kind of hemmed and hawed about for a long, long time, but it's so vanishingly rare that I'm going to get a cleric of 9th level or higher that wants to cast this spell on someone who has those boots, that I have really never cared. If it comes up, I will say yes. It actually came up once a million years ago, back in the late 80s. I had a player who had a character with boots of speed, and he was a cleric, so he was able to cast this spell. He was about a 12th level cleric. So he cast it, so the spell lasted 6 turns plus 1 turn per level. So a 12th level caster, he was able to have it last 3 hours, 18 turns. Minimum is 9th level, so that would be 9 turns plus 1 turn, so 2.5 hours. That's pretty good. You can actually make quite a bit of distance in 2.5 hours of walking or running. I would allow this also to work in conjunction with the magic user spell, Run. You could, in theory, also charm any giant that's nearby and have him carry you. The only problem is you better have a way to deal with it if he was faking the charm, or the charm somehow wears off while he's airwalking. I personally would use the spell to airwalk myself and then look for some kind of movement advantage like I've already discussed. But this is a neat little spell. If you're on a hilltop and there's another hilltop a mile distant, just casting this spell would eliminate going down the hill, crossing all the terrain, and then going back up the hill. Tremendous advantage to be able to just walk from literally point A to point B. And because you can stop on a copper piece, you can ascend or descend at a walking pace or even a running pace. And you can stop yourself whenever you want. The question becomes, do you have to use your hands when you're climbing on a 60-degree slope or even a 45-degree like you would on regular ground? And my answer to that is no. Because I can travel vertically with this spell, putting my hands up in front of me wouldn't help. So I say that the user has their hands free and the magic keeps them upright, but at the angle that they're walking. So if it's a 60-degree angle, instead of having to kind of crouch down and make my way up on all fours, I'm able to just walk with my body at the 60-degree angle from the slope. It's just kind of neat. It keeps your hands free. The cleric can cast other spells or do other things, take a potion, anything else they might need. This would be a great time to have a potion of flying. It's just, I like this spell a lot, but I like a backup for it too. I don't want to rely on this thing getting me the whole way there. As far as the duration goes, I give a warning. I have the spell kind of buzz a little in the caster's head or in the creature that's been touched. I let them know, hey, man, time's running out within about the last turn. So they have time to get back down to solid ground. I've never liked spells that kind of surprise the players by, it's expired, now you're falling. The idea of training an animal, that's really cool. The only problem becomes, of course, if you get thrown. And then you are falling a long, long way, potentially. So that's really all I've got. It's a pretty straightforward spell that's deceptively very powerful. Being able to walk from one mountaintop to another in the span of maybe an hour or two. That's a tremendous advantage over what anybody else could do short of flying. So I do recommend Airwalk. I have it at my table. I've seen it a handful of times. It's not one that players end up taking all that often, which I find kind of a shame because it's a really useful spell. But by the time the cleric's gotten to 5th level, the magic user's already had his 3rd level fly spell for quite some time. He's had levitate even longer. So it's sometimes a little tough to sell the cleric on taking the airwalk. But those that have enjoyed it. As I said, I've seen it cast at my table and used in conjunction with magical footwear. By the way, shoes of Falargan, I would have you travel at normal speed going up the slope since that's what the shoes allow. So that's all I've got today, just a short one about the 5th level cleric spell Airwalk. Let me know what you think, if you've used this at your table, if you've had some funny results from the spell expiring or the player just being incautious, getting knocked off by a diving dragon. It doesn't create a path or anything. There's nothing to stop anything from coming up and attacking the cleric that's suspended on this non-existent land. He's just walking on air. So he can be attacked from any direction by flying creatures. So that's another way to use it too. But that's all I've got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. If you liked what you heard and saw, please like and subscribe. Take a look at the Patreon. Help me out there. And I'll see you next time on page 121.